Hi to you watching this video. So for this video, we're going to discuss about the network diagram itself. So from our previous discussion, we were able to draw our basic per TPM network diagram, the sequencing of events, the rules, and constructing your diagrams. But this time, we are now going to focus on our network diagram with the application of duration. Okay, but before that, let's have first some deeper understanding on the network diagram. So all kinds of project, maybe in engineering, in administrative, or construction itself, must be finished under the following objectives. So we have three. Number one, to complete the project at the earliest minimum time. Okay, so every project, as much as possible, or any activity, we want to finish it the earliest possible time and the minimum time applicable, because time is equivalent to money. Okay, so we will discuss that later. Number two, we have to use any available manpower, equipment, and other resources in attaining our desired output. Number three, to complete the project with a minimum capital investment without causing undue delay. Okay, so why are these things are our objective? So number one, to complete the project at the earliest minimum time, because we do not want to waste time. If we are wasting time, therefore we are wasting resources. Okay, if we are wasting time, we are delaying the project. And if we are delaying the project, like what we have said, we are wasting money. Okay. Number two, to use the available manpower, equipment, and other resources. So there are instances that there will be lack of some resources, but we need to be creative. We need to be critical thinker on how to solve and on how to deal with these problems given the circumstances. Okay? So for example, ito lang available nating manpower, then we deal with it. Then from there, we analyze the situation and we apply the possible solution. Number three, to complete the project within a minimum capital investment without causing undue delay. So as much as possible, we want to have, or we want to deliver a project or a product with the minimum possible cost. Okay, so that we can be efficient in terms of costing, and we are not wasting money. Okay. So what are the controlling factor? So it is time versus manpower. It is time versus equipment. It is time versus peso. So everything involves time. Why is it time versus manpower? Because manpower, the productivity or the productivity output or the output of your manpower is dependent, or independent, what is relevant, I mean. So it is varying from one situation to another situation, and a factor also that is contributing to that is the skill of the worker. Now, depending on the skill of the worker, would be the duration of the activity. Like for example, worker is highly if your worker is highly skilled, then the time that will be consumed would be less compared to a trainee 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 semi-skilled trainee or semi-skilled manpower. Like for example, you have here a mason. Let's say a mason. Your mason is already a high skilled. He's been working in the industry for almost, let's say, 20 years, compared to a new mason which is just practicing for about 2 to 3 years. Of course, from there we can assume that the first one, who has an experience of 20 years, has greater experience. Okay, therefore, since he has greater experience, we can assume that he can deliver the output within a shorter period of time and a good quality compared to the ones that who has lesser experience. But we are not discriminating here. Okay, what we are trying to show you that time is a factor here, and time is dependent, or is proportional to the experience, or to to the skill of your worker. Number two, time versus equipment. Okay, so when we say time versus equipment, equipments are made so that it would help us to make our jobs easier and faster. Okay, so equipments play a vital role in doing our job because they help us in a greater amount of saving energy and saving resources in order to produce the same desired output. Okay? So the more that your equipment is efficient, the more that you are using your time efficiently. Next would be time versus money. Okay? So time versus money, it is a factor in a sense that if we are consuming more time, we are consuming more money. If we are right on track or we are on schedule, we are saving money. Okay? Ibig sabihin, time is equivalent to money. Every seconds or every minute that is counting, you are also counting money. Okay? Okay, next would be what are your planning objectives? Number one, to represent graphically the specific job and proper sequence of the job. This one is very important because it helps us visualize the duration of the activity or the duration of the project. It gives us a graphical representation of what are the things that needs to be done. Okay? So, nakikita natin siya, mas nai-imagine natin, and mas nabibigyan tayo ng clearer picture on how things are happening. Number two, to establish a medium for estimating the time, manpower, or other resources necessary for each job. So, when we say establishing a medium for estimating our resources, nagkakaroon tayo ng aid or nagkakaroon tayo ng platform on how we should do things, and it gives us a better idea or perspective on how things are running. Number three, to avail sequential arrangement of the jobs, an accurate estimate of resources and the alternative plans based on the scope of work. So yun, binibigyan niya tayo ng direction on how things will go if there are things that are anticipated that would cause delay. What are the possible alternative? Okay, so these are the objectives of a planning. So dito pa lang na foresee natin yung mga bagay na mangyayari, and if there might be undue delays or unnecessary items, we mitigate and or we remove them. Okay, so these are the common terms that you will be hearing for in constructing your network diagram. So number one is scheduling. So what is scheduling? Scheduling is the process of allocating calendar dates to jobs based on approved plans. So if you already have your approved plans, from there we are now going to allocate time, resources, and resources. Okay? Para makikita natin kung kailan natin gagamitin, para saan natin gagamitin, at kailan natin gagawin or gagamitin. That is scheduling. Next would be a critical path. So critical path, it is the longest route in the network of activities representing the project. When we say longest route, it is the longest possible time. Okay? So, if this is my network diagram, kung sino dito sa mga path na to ang makapagbibigay sa akin ng pinakamahabang duration, then that would be the duration of the entirety of the project. Okay? Bakit? Kasi for example, sabihin natin si AEJ is just 25 days. Now, si BFI is 30 days. Therefore, ang magiging critical path would be the 30 days rather than the 25 days, because if I'll be using the 25 days, which is path AEJ, as my critical path, then saan napunta yung 5 days? Where did the 5 days go? Okay? So, ibig sabihin, on the 25th day, I'll be stopping my work But take note, I need another extra 5 days to finish activity I. Therefore, from there, we can conclude that the longest duration would be our critical path. The longest duration will be the duration of your project. Okay? Next would be the earliest event. So the earliest event, it is the earliest time occurrence of an event, sometimes called the earliest event time or early event time. So earliest event, it is the earliest possible that an event would happen. Okay? Or yeah. Next would be the earliest start. So earliest start of an activity is always equal to the earliest event. So the earliest start, it is the duration where it is the earliest possible na sisimulan yung isang activity. Like for example sa clearing and grabbing. So the clearing and grabbing would start at day 0 or day 1. Okay? 0 to day 1. So the earliest possible start, of course, is day 1. Okay? Next is the earliest finish. So the earliest finish here, it is the earliest start plus the duration. So earliest finish, ibig sabihin, the earliest possible natin pwede siyang tapusin. Bakit may tinatawag tayong earliest start and earliest finish? Because we have what we call the latest event. Meron tayong tinatawag na latest finish and late start. Okay. Now, what is a late event? So, latest time of the event may occur without delaying the project completion. Now, for example, there are two parallel activities here. Now, you have here activity E and activity F. Now, activity E has a duration of 8 days, while activity F has a duration of 10 days. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, si activity F, pwede ko siyang gawin, gagawin ko siya for 10 days. Now, dito si activity E, I'll be doing this for 8 days. So, ibig sabihin, meron akong allowance na 2 days. So, pwede kong simulan si activity E ng 3rd day, matatapos ko siya ng 10th day, while si activity F, matatapos din siya ng 10th day. Okay? So, ang late start natin dito is on the 3rd day. Okay? So, yun yung late start. Nag-start ako on the 3rd day instead of the 1st day. Then, for the latest finish, we have explained that kanina. The latest finish is the 10th day. Imagine, supposedly, I can, if I started on the early start, which is the 1st day, I'll be finishing it on the 8th day. So, that is the early finished. But if I started it on the 3rd day, that is the late start, I will also be finishing it on the 10th day, which is the late finish. Okay? Okay. Next would be a total float or a total slack. So it is the span of time an activity can be delayed after its earliest start without delaying the project completion. So yung sabi natin kanina, this is just a slack for a parallel activity, but the total slack is the total adjusting time for the whole duration of the activity. Now, for this one, ang slack natin or the float natin is 2 days kasi pwede kong simulan yung activity E after 2 days pero sabay pa rin silang matatapos ng activity F on the 10th day. Okay? Without causing any delay. Okay? So, hindi ako nag-cause ng delay kasi natapos pa rin ako on the 10th day. So, yun yung tinatawag nating float. Next one is the early or the independent float, which is IF. So, it is that portion of the activity's free float that would remain if all of the preceding activities used up all their float. Okay, so we will understand this better as we go along with our example. So, 4 types of information. So, we have the early start or the ES. This is assuming that all preceding activities start at the earliest time. So, yung mga activities before that activity started on the earliest time. Because if they started on the late finish, or late start, then that would be a different story. Early finish of the activity time, EF. LS is the latest finish, latest time, yeah. And latest time of the activity can be finished and not delay the project. So we start with our early start, early finish. Take note, the combination here is early start, therefore you can have an early finish. But if you will have a late start, then you will have here a latest finish. This should be LF. LS, LF. ES, EF. LF, LS. Okay, so we try this. But before that, let's see the rules. We have two rules here. So the earliest finish, or the EF, for any activities is equal to the earliest starting time plus its expected duration. So yung early finish natin dito would be the earliest possible time, which is time 0, plus the duration, which is 10 days. So that yun yung early finish niya. Okay, so the formula is the early start plus the duration is equivalent to EF. Now, rule number 2. For nodes with 1 entering arrows, ES for the activity such as at such node is equal to EF of the entering arrow. For nodes with multiple entering arrows, the ES for activities leaving such node is equal to the largest. Okay? Now, for example here, yung EF nung preceding activity would be the ES of the succeeding activity if iisa lang yung arrow. Now, if ito, maraming arrow, maraming preceding activity, the ES or the early start would be the largest value. Okay? So, let's try to construct this diagram. We are going to construct do our early start, early finish in the next video. So, stay tuned.